Rich Father, Poor Father. This book has brought many people closer to valuing new financial ideas. They don't teach in any school. Above all, the idea of achieving financial freedom, or what is the same? To generate passive income. I want to emphasize the key learnings that we can extract from it. Where does the title come from? Rich Father, Poor Father. The book is based on Kiyosaki's story. In the story, Robert tells us that he has two parents. The poor father. His biological father, a man who had a successful academic career and who works in the public sector. In a permanent position and with a fixed salary at the end of the month. And rich dad. Who is actually Mike's father. A friend of his. But that he considers him as a second father and a mentor. In this case, rich dad is a man who just finished compulsory education. But he became one of the richest men in Hawaii. With these two figures in the background, Robert explains to us how he was receiving teachings from one and the other. And he shows us the ways of seeing life and especially the finances and money of each one. As an example, poor dad spent his life saying, "Now I can't afford it." Instead, rich dad saw things quite differently. Since he said, "How can I afford it?" And he was looking for a way to get what he wanted. Perhaps the most important lesson from Rich Dad is understanding how to best use your mindset and time to create your own wealth. Following that way of thinking, we can understand why one went so far and the other was stuck financially speaking. The 6 lessons we can draw from Robert Kiyosaki's book. In the book, we find many tips, but all of them can be summarized in 6 great lessons. Let's see what they are. 1. The rich do not work for money. The book begins by throwing us a reflection in the form of a very interesting story. The reflection that is extracted is the following. Most workers trade their time for money. However, the rich are looking for ways to make money work for them. In fact, it's not that the rich don't work. Rather, they work hard to train and seek new opportunities. Because exchanging time for money is not profitable or scalable in the long run. There comes a time when you don't have more time and you can't keep increasing your income. Therefore, it is important that you find alternative routes. Like some of these that I am going to mention. Investment in the stock market, through shares, bonds, ETFs, or other assets. Digital businesses. Why? Real estate investment. These 3 examples are just a sample of everything you can do for your money. Or even your knowledge, work for you. 2. The importance of having a good financial education. Robert Kiyosaki says that the goal of schools is to make children very good employees. But they do not teach under any circumstances how to be good entrepreneurs or businessmen. That is why it is important to train financially and to know some key concepts, such as, for example, what is an asset, and what is a liability? According to Kiyosaki, an active. It is a title or contract that generates income for its owner. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. While a liability, on the other hand, generates expenses. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. According to Kiyosaki, our residence is not an asset but a liability. Since we do not obtain income from it, quite the contrary. It is an ongoing expense. Electricity, water, gas, repairs, among other things. Either owned or rented. You will have those expenses. This is an idea that many do not agree with. Since a house has always been considered as an asset. Nevertheless, for the author, it only makes sense to acquire a main residence when other assets have already been acquired, which allow generating enough income to pay the loan installments. But let us return to the teaching that interests us. Robert tells us that the rich get rich by accumulating assets. For example, real estate for investment purposes, stock assets, intellectual properties, among other investments. Therefore, wealth comes when assets are capable of generating enough money to cover investment costs. the day-to-day of the investor, and that in addition, there is a surplus. This fact is what we know as financial freedom. The rat race. What happens when financial education is non-existent? Robert Kiyosaki explains that the poor can be distinguished: the middle class and the rich for their way of managing their income. The poor live from day to day, with the little income they have. They have neither assets nor liabilities. The middle class acquire liabilities, thinking that they are acquiring assets, for example, a house, a car. Why? The rich, or future richest, build a wealth with assets that generate more income. Definitely. The middle class that has no financial education buys liabilities without realizing it. But, in addition, with the aggravating circumstance that he often goes into debt to be able to pay them. The author. This situation is called as entering the rat race. If you like his video, please subscribe, it's free. It costs you nothing, and it helps me a lot. If you really like this summary, give it a like, so YouTube will recommend this video to more people. Thank you for subscribing and liking it. Now let's continue. The rat race. It is a somewhat derogatory term, but it offers a very visual image of the situation in which the middle class finds itself. When a rat begins to run on its wheel and goes faster and faster, it cannot get out of the wheel, it is trapped in it. The key to being able to escape the rat race. It is to change our mentality and understand that the income we currently have, we must use to acquire assets to generate even more income. No spending them on liabilities. 3. Don't neglect your own financial affairs. What does Kiyosaki mean by this? Well, exactly this. You have to start investing and acquiring assets while working as an employee. In this way, the first passive income is achieved, and over time that amount grows. So did the author himself? He began to work as a Xerox copier salesman and, in turn, began to allocate a very important part of his salary to invest in real estate. Seeing his investments pay off so well, he kept working harder and sold more copiers. So he had more money to invest. In just 3 years he managed to make the income generated by his real estate investments exceed his salary. So he quit his job to take care of his own financial affairs full-time. 4. Taxes and the great power of companies over them. An employee, when he earns money, he collects his salary, he directly has to pay the income tax. In fact, in many countries the employer withholds this tax from the salary. With the salary that is left available, he can spend or invest his money. However, the rich have sought ways to turn this process around, finding a legal loophole to have the largest amount of money available. To make your investments first and pay taxes later. This method consists of creating their own companies. Because companies can deduct expenses that natural persons cannot deduct, they end up paying less taxes. And, therefore, the net benefit in the end is greater when you have a company. It is simply about using their companies to avoid taxes in a totally legal way and to optimize their taxation through their companies. The bottom line is that by setting up a company, we can start by paying ourselves. In this way we will have more capital available to acquire assets. 5. The rich invent money. According to Robert Kiyosaki, good opportunities don't fall from the sky. Good opportunities are generated. That's why professional investors look for opportunities on their own. And, through their search and knowledge, they turn a mediocre investment into an exceptional investment. But in order to generate exceptional investments, it is important to develop 4 skills. 1. Knowing how to identify an opportunity that no one else has seen. Identify the elements that really add value to an investment. 2. Know how to obtain financing. Either because you do not have enough of your own funds, or because you do not want to disburse such an important amount of money, you will need to resort to external financing. Through financial leverage. The better the financing terms, the more interesting the investment will be. 3. Knowing how to make intelligent people work together. We must focus on what is important. Otherwise we will create a second job, which is why it is so necessary to surround yourself with intelligent and competent people to whom we can delegate the management of our investment. 4. Learn to accept the risk inherent in each investment. You have to learn to manage emotions, both in case of success, like failure. In fact, it is precisely the ability to recover from a failure that will mean your success, and not the will to succeed immediately. 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. Here the author launches the idea that the important thing is not to have a permanent job, like poor dad had. But you have to look for jobs where you can learn, even if they are not well paid. You have to acquire a lot of information and know a little about everything, to later be able to apply everything learned in investments and business. Some subjects that he recommends knowing are accounting. Since to invest in the stock market it is necessary to be able to read the annual reports of the companies in which you want to invest. The same happens if you want to set up your own company. Investment strategy. This subject is more difficult to learn, academic nerd, but it is equally important. A faculty that is refined over time. The laws of the market. It is important to know the law of supply and demand to be able to sell and set the prices of your products. Law. Whether we like it or not. Our lives and all businesses are governed by rules that we must respect. The better we know our rights and obligations, the more we can make our business and/or our investments prosper. Everything you know besides this. Better than better. If you liked this summary, please leave your comments below. I hope you liked this summary. If so, feel free to give me your opinion in the comment box below. If you like this video, please share it on social networks to make it reach the maximum number of people. Yes, you got to this part of the video. I want to thank you for your attention, and I hope this information will help you a lot. If you like the video, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel. Is free. It costs you nothing, and it helps me a lot to continue creating content. Turn on notifications. This will notify you when I upload new videos. And I ask you to help me with a like so YouTube will recommend this video to more people. Share this video with that person who you know needs this information. Always think big. Always remember that there are no limits. Have a great day. Wishes you think big, global entrepreneur.